This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
The biggest icon in podcasting.
Welcome everybody to this week's edition of Doc and Jock. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. Let me tell you, when the Lions go on a bye week, I thought it was going to be peace and quiet. I thought that the news cycle would slow down. Oh, hell no. I mean, coaches are getting fired. People want to trade Matt Stafford. I was like, man, with the Detroit Lions, the news cycle never stops, cuz.
Yeah, I mean, why would it? It's the NFL season, and good organizations are doing credible good moves, something that the organization that you cover for SI, All Lions, does not do. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you exactly why this organization is okay with mediocrity, because they are a shit show of an NFL organization.
Well, when you saw Dak Prescott go down within moments, we were texting, the entire Metro Detroit community was paying attention, and it just goes to show you that in regards to the Lions, the roster, everybody's ready to move forward, even to the point where maybe even some would have settled for a second and a third for Matthew Stafford to go to Dallas. But right away, Jerry Jones is like, which I think is the ultimate disrespect, he's like, nah, I think, we signed Dalton for a reason. We're ready to roll with him. And of course, Dalton plays okay. So for those that want Matthew Stafford to be gone, you're probably just going to have to root for an epic collapse Monday Night Football in front of the entire nation. That might speed track a phone call, but at this point in time, Stafford's ours, and he ain't going anywhere.
But see, that's the problem right there, and that's why this organization will always be bad. The moment that you've seen Dak Prescott's foot dangling from his leg because it was completely separated from the rest of his body, that was the moment Sheila should have had Bob Quinn on the phone saying, hey, I don't care what you think you know. I don't care what you want to do. This is what you're going to do. I'm the owner of this team. You get Jerry on the phone and you gauge how interested he is in winning, because they've got a pretty good team down in Dallas. All right. And that division is pretty piss poor that they play in. And this season sets up for a team like Dallas, who has all the pieces. You got an elite running back in Zeke Elliott. You've got a very good offensive line. You've got stud wide receivers up and down that roster. On top of all of that, your defense is okay. You've got the makings of a team that can make a playoff push. And if this organization had any balls, any gumption, if it knew anything about sports, it would have forced Bob Quinn to get off of his ass and make a phone call and say, Jerry, what are we talking about? We got a guy in Matt Stafford who's ready to win now. You've got a team that's ready to win now. What do we got to do to make this happen? What are you willing to give me? You have to remember, Jerry Jones is the same guy who gave you a first-round pick for Mike Williams, if I remember correctly. No, it was Roy Williams, for Roy Williams. I mean, you remember Captain First Down himself? Every time he scored a first down or got a first down, his hand went shooting out straight down the field. That Roy Williams, the guy who ended up going to Dallas and didn't do a whole lot. If this organization from the top down had any brain cells, Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia wouldn't be here. It'd be like an organization like Atlanta, who has played in a Super Bowl. It'd be an organization like Houston, who probably gave Bill O'Brien way too much of a leash, and he's probably made way too many moves and really set that organization back. But at least they pulled the plug early enough this season to where they can get a head start on next season. Instead, your Detroit Lions allow people like Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn to linger around. And then when you have a quarterback go down on a team that has aspirations of winning a Super Bowl, you do nothing but sit on your hands. You don't make a phone call. That's what this organization has always done. If people want to tell me that Sheila Hamp is going to be somebody different, she's going to do things different, then why does she continue to do exactly what she has learned from her father and her mother before her? Just sitting on her thumbs. Great, I'm glad you like anal. Fantastic, lady. I don't give a shit what you do in your bedroom. All I want is a winning football team, and I want good product on the field. And you know what? You could jumpstart that by possibly trading your franchise quarterback who, by all accounts, you ask anybody on the street, doesn't look very good this year. All right? But this is a guy who's from Dallas. And at a certain point, Jerry Jones had a fixation with him. And usually when Jerry has a fixation with somebody, Jerry is willing to make a move. All you got to do is make a phone call. Just lob one. That's it. Say, Jerry, what are we talking about? I need a first. You got a first for me? Hey, I'll take a first and a second. You got a first and a second. Doesn't even have to be a second this year. It could be a second 3 years from now. I don't care. Just acquire something and let's get this restart started. This organization is so bad, John. It is so bad. And fans who are willing to take a second and a third, hey, I hear you guys. I hear you. I understand. I get where you're coming from with it. I do. I think a second and a third is selling it a little bit short. I think for Matt Stafford, you need at least a first, and that's where we're starting, and that's pretty much where we're ending. I don't care if it's an early first. I don't care if it's a late first, but we're settling on a first because this is a guy who, if you listen to B on my other podcast, he has at least 5 years left in him. I'm not going to tell you that, all right? I was ready to move on from Matt Stafford before this season even started. So if I can somehow squeeze a first-round pick out of this guy, I'm doing it, and that's just kind of where I'm at. And and look, we won't know. Nobody will know for sure if there are any calls lobbed to Dallas and to Jerry Jones. None of us are 100% sure there, and you won't ever know. But I can almost guarantee on the life of my future unborn child that Sheila Hamp was like, no, we're not trading Matt Stafford, and Bob Quinn was like, that's never even crossed my mind. Why would we do that? This organization is so beholden to this guy who has not been challenged since the day he's gotten here. The guy who, I'm going to go as far as to say, isn't a winner because you haven't won anything with him here. That being said, I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just don't think he's right for this organization. I don't think he can get you over the hump. We talk about Jim Caldwell being a really good coach, just not that guy to get you over the hump. That's Matt Stafford. That's this organization. They'll do some things right, and they'll do other things that are just absolutely mind-blowing stupid. And this is where we're at. Dak Prescott, foot just flip-flopping around. It's like a flag in a windstorm, just blowing in the breeze. All right? The moment that happened, there should have been phones to Jerry. You should not have seen Jerry Jones looking like he was about to cry in his suite. You should have seen Jerry Jones on the phone getting down to business. And on the other end, it should have been Sheila being like, hey, Jerry, let's talk about this. It's not what we get. It's never what we get. Tired of it, John. Tired of it. Tired of this organization.
Because it's a situation in which I would say it's a pipe dream. I know that, you got to also look at cap ramifications. The Cowboys can't PR-wise just broom aside Dak after having a contentious contract negotiation. They're going to pay him again probably via the franchise, $35 million. Stafford's contract is worth $27 million. So you can't be paying two quarterbacks $60 million when next year the cap is expected to be around $175 million. So like I said, it's just one of those things where it's a numbers game, and it's a scenario in which fans of the Lions, you and I, it would be great to move on from Stafford, but it just is not a situation that I think is plausible with the Cowboys now. But pay attention to the end of the season and pay attention as the season progresses if the losing continues, if this regime does indeed get removed. Then the talk, I think, will escalate in regards to the potential of a team making that first round offer. I think that you don't want to let emotion dictate what's going on. You don't want to settle. I think the asking price is a first round pick, and you don't settle for anything less. And here's the other caveat, it's a problem. Stafford has struggled to start 2020. I mean, we're talking about fixing his footwork. He's coming off of a couple back injuries. So while you and I want that first round pick and think that that's what his value really should be based on his potential, if he gets everything right now, the optics are that Stafford is not playing well and he's not worth it. So you're not going to get probably even a third round offer at this point in time.
You remember when Roy Williams was here, though, right? And I'm going to go back to that trade that Dallas and Detroit conducted. Roy Williams was kind of a secondary piece, didn't do a whole lot. I don't even remember. He might have been coming off an injury like the year prior. Anyways, they still were able to squeeze a first rounder out of him. Look, I think, you would agree Jerry Jones is a very smart man, right?
Yeah, I mean, that Roy Williams trade when you look at it. I don't know how they made
Right.
it.
It was absolutely silly. It was absolutely silly.
It was.
But this is the thing. All right, Roy was a Texas native. Roy was a guy who went to the University of Texas, and Jerry gets fixated on these things. That's just what happens. And I think we both agree, Jerry Jones is an incredibly intelligent man. He's got wealth beyond belief. But Jerry likes his toys, and that's what owners look at these football teams as. They're their toys. You can go out and you can get a guy like Matt Stafford. He could make the salary cap work. You wouldn't be bringing Dak back next year. And all that being said, you're going to get Stafford on a bit of a discount compared to what you would have to pay Dak. So I think business-wise, you could turn around and you could sell this, and it would make total sense because Matt Stafford's got, 2 years left on his contract, and he'll be making somewhere right around, I don't know, I think it's like $20-some million. He doesn't even have to really eat the salary cap hit because the Lions are going to have to eat most of that. I think it could be done. I'm not telling you it will be done. I'm not telling you it's probably going to be done. I'm telling you it could be if these guys really, really wanted it to get done.
See, I just think that maybe even while you look at it, I just think that Matthew Stafford, the more time he spends here in Detroit, I just get the vibe that he's just going to stick around here forever. I mean, you know how attached he is to the community. You know how attached everything is. If they feel like everything's built around him, could a new regime, one of their first decisions be to blow out Matthew Stafford? That would be epic. I don't know if a new regime could even do it because everybody believes that, hey, quarterback that's, potential top 10, only earning top 15 money, $27 million seems like a bargain. So the odds indicate to me that he's staying. And I know we want to force it, but really, bottom line, if Matthew Stafford doesn't march really into Martha's office and Martha and Sheila's office and says, hey, I'm done, then the likelihood of that really happening, I think, is slim and none. And I would say, if you're Stafford, you definitely should start peeking into the 49ers situation, the Indy situation. There's a couple ready-made teams ready to go.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. If I was Matt Stafford, I wouldn't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this any longer. I want to go someplace else, someplace where I have a chance to win. And you're right. 49ers are an organization that are built to win. I don't know if they're built to win this year because of all the injuries that they sustained. Indy's another organization. You got a good young running back. You got a decent offensive line. You've got a very good defense. I mean, if anybody's been playing fantasy football, and look, I don't use fantasy football as my gauge on whether a team is good or not, but their defense is very, very good. And you could go to either one of those teams and make them instant contenders and really put yourself, if you're Matt Stafford, in a spot where you could end up with that championship that you need for your career. If you had to pick one team right now, whether it be Dallas, San Francisco, Indy, or somebody else off the board, where would you go if you were Matt Stafford?
Hey, man, the landscape's looking good minute by minute. I think the 49ers ready to go, man. I think that, could you imagine him working with Kyle Shanahan? Woohoo, the thought just excites me to just talk about it. Indy, potential young up-and-coming team, but I'll propose this. Straight up, no picks involved. Maybe a situation in which a new regime would say, maybe we can take a project. You just straight up flip Stafford for Garoppolo. Two guys needing two new situations. Just straight up, no picks involved. Would you make that move?
No. I don't want Garoppolo. And look, you have to go based on salary ramifications as well. Jimmy G's got a bigger salary than Matt Stafford does right now. I don't want that. I want to go the other way, where we're going to try to bring in our own guy. We're going to develop our own guy, and we're going to go with a young quarterback on that rookie contract for a while. I mean, I get excited watching a guy like Justin Herbert play in Los Angeles for the Chargers. I get excited. I'm excited for when Tua gets to go. Remember, that was a guy who I really, really wanted. I've watched probably more Joe Burrow games than I have watched of complete Lion games. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, Lions games will go, I'll check in, I'll watch, and then I'll go do something around the house for a minute. I'll come back, I'll watch. Joe Burrow, though, he's playing. I'm sitting and I'm glued to it. I'll have Red Zone on my phone just watching his games. So I want that young quarterback. I want that piece that you can really, again, kickstart your rebuild, kickstart your franchise, and start to kind of reshape and do this thing right. Because in my estimation, if a new head coach and a new general manager come in. There's no guarantee that that's going to happen. But if they do, you're looking at least a 2-year, maybe a 3-year deal for this team to just get competitive. Because I don't think you have the pieces on defense. I think it's a lot of old, broken down pieces from New England. I don't think that you have. I think you're closer on offense, but that offense is changing and is going to be evolving. So, like, what are you going to do? You're going to bring Kenny Galladay back, or are you not? Marvin Jones is probably gone after this year. Quintez Cephas looks like he might be a nice pick. Might be somebody who can do some things. Danny Amendola, obviously, at the end of his career. Adrian Peterson, obviously, towards the end of his career. I don't trust Kerryon Johnson. DeAndre Swift hasn't touched the ball enough. I mean, there's a second-round pick who barely gets to see the field. So what are we doing here as far as this offense? So I think this offense is in a really crucial spot where it's in a state of flux. So if I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it right, I would probably end up bringing back Kenny Galladay, Quintez Cephas, and then I'm going to go get that young quarterback. Because remember, I believe that this offensive line is good. I think it's good enough. So you could put your young quarterback behind it, and you don't necessarily have to worry. You also have a running back who will have a year underneath his belt. Granted, he's seen limited field action and limited carries, but I like what DeAndre Swift brings to the table. So I'm going young quarterback over a guy like Jimmy G.
Yeah, and you see one young quarterback that's balling out for the LA team. I mean, this time of year when you have a losing team, because you know that all the fans are looking at, oh, God, here we go. Fulgham's balling out for the Eagles, dropping 10 catches, 150 and a touch. Yeah, I know you saw that. And then, obviously, it was written in the papers that maybe it's not going to be Tua that we regret not getting. You know, we wrote about it at SI. We talked about it briefly on the podcast. But Justin Herbert looks like a quarterback that's prototypical, that might have been somebody that you could have taken a flyer on and developed if you were willing to, at least for a moment, look ahead and step forward.
I mean, are you surprised at how good he's played? I'm blown away.
I mean, I know he's good, but that fast? I mean, especially in the situation and how he got in there? I mean, you puncture the quarterback's lung? I mean, really, that's bad luck for, you just feel so bad that a quarterback could lose his job after getting his lung punctured. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, he's stepped in and he has played absolutely amazingly from basically day one. And I'm just kind of blown away and shocked at how good he has been. This was a guy who, look, I wasn't huge on Herbert. Herbert was probably my third quarterback if I had a choice to pick between the three, Burrow, Tua, and Herbert. He was definitely a distant third, but he's been amazing, absolutely amazing. Like what he did on Monday night was incredible, dude. He didn't look rattled at all. Like biggest stage of his young career so far, playing on Monday night, playing against the Saints. And he just leads this team down and they just score points and they look good. Got them in position to win that game. Field goal kicker ends up kicking it off the upright. He's been unrattleable. He's been great so far. Even after the Saints end up taking the lead in overtime with a field goal, he ends up coming down the field and it was like fourth and it felt like forever. And the pass was a little bit behind Mike Williams, but still gave them a chance to continue and move down the field. Granted, they were swallowed up and didn't get the first down and game ended. But, I mean, he's been unfreaking real. Could you imagine having that sitting behind a guy like Matt Stafford, pushing Matt Stafford, challenging Matt Stafford, so that way Matt Stafford's totally expendable in a situation like that. Instead, you've got a guy like Chase Daniels. Sweet. Chase Daniels. Good job. I mean, it's absolutely nuts what good organizations do. You know?
Now I got to ask you this, cuz Jacksonville, week 6, good offense, could put up some points. But I do think that the situation that's being sold, quite frankly, is about hope that, hey, the schedule is going to be soft. You're going to go out and take on the teams that, have broomed out head coaches, quarterbacks that aren't the best. There really is, I think, more than a 50% opportunity. You could be looking at 3-3 after 6 games, and then you go from there. So I put out the question, and I think a lot of people voted. It was well over 1,000 votes that people are saying, hey, I hate to do it, but I have to root against the Detroit Lions to get the W because it would indicate that maybe if the game is embarrassing against the Jaguars, then there's an opportunity right away that would probably indicate that this is it. So over 70% of people said, so over 700 people said, hey, I can't even cheer for my team to win because we want these guys gone. Me, I look at it like this. There are just some games in the NFL where the opponent is really not that good, and oh my God, the Jaguars defense is almost on par with how bad they are with the Lions. I think the Lions really, I hate to say it in the NFL, by default could just show up and play a C-plus game. If they can play a C game, they get the W.
So I don't know if I'm willing to go that far. I think there's some magic in that mustache with Gardner Minshew. And look, I agree with you. I don't think their defense is anything special. I really don't. But I've watched them a couple times, and they just find ways to win games. They just find ways to eke out a W. And if the Lions don't take them serious, look, I don't think the Lions are good enough by any stretch of the imagination to just kind of roll in someplace and just walk out with a W. So I think the Lions are going to absolutely have to show up in this game. I think they're going to have to take this game extremely serious. And I'm concerned. I think the matchup to watch for this game is how does Gardner Minshew handle Detroit's secondary, or how does Detroit's secondary handle Gardner Minshew and those receivers? Because Minshew has the ability to pick apart man-to-man coverage. So if this defense does a little bit more zone, I think it's going to frustrate him a little bit, and you'll force a couple turnovers. I don't know if you caught that the Thursday night game between Miami and Jacksonville. In that game, again, another Bill Belichick protege running the Miami Dolphins. You had a team that rolled in there that played a ton of man coverage. And then in that game, they switched it up and they ran more zone. And that really frustrated Minshew, and it got him kind of off balance a little bit. He started throwing a few more interceptions, wasn't really positive where to go with the ball. I think if Patricia and the Lions come in and they run a lot of man defense against this Jacksonville offense, I think it's going to be a very long day for Detroit.
Okay. I like it. I'm of the opinion that, hey, it's quite evident that the Jaguars defense can't get off the field, and the offense just simply hasn't had the ball enough. The time of possession has been slanted heavily in the opponent's favor, and their secondary, it's young. I mean, dude, the Jacksonville Jaguars, in terms of letting go of talent, just 3 years ago, they had a plethora of talent on that defense, and they just wiped it clean. The majority of the talent is on the offensive side of the football with a running back that they just picked up, undrafted, and now he's doing well. So really, it's kind of interesting in that both defenses kind of mirror each other. So this game could be really...
Don't you think they're pretty similar?
Yeah, it could be really a 30-30 entertaining game, or it could be a 7-3 game if they both don't execute. But I just think that in this situation, the Jaguars are that bad and that devoid of talent that the Lions are coming in a little bit healthier, a bye week, an extra week to prepare. Unless this team really is landing on the side of quitting on this regime, this is just an NFL game where the Lions are just way more talented. And if they execute, Stafford's going to be looking to rebound. You got to remember now, another healthy week of Peterson, Swift. The talent offensively for the Lions dwarfs whatever the Jaguars got. So for me, I just see this being a 34, 35, 24 kind of game, 10-point victory for the Lions. They come back 2-3, and then they head out and continue, going forward. I think, though, the win against the Jaguars might be it for a minute, because the teams coming up, I know everyone's like, oh, the Lions can get some W's. Indianapolis, Atlanta, no game after Jacksonville is really a game in which you can take the opponent lightly. So I just have to hope that when you look at this Lions team, offensively, if they can pick it up just a notch and open up the offense a little bit, throw some more deep passes so that the run game can be opened up a little bit, you get the time of possession. If you're a Lions fan, trust me, I don't think you have to worry. I might be taking a task. You might be calling me out again next week, but this one seems easy.
I mean, I hope it's easy. Actually, I hope it's not easy. I want this regime out of here, so I want them to lose as much as just about anything in life right now. I like Jacksonville. I think I like Jacksonville in this spot. I'm going to pick Jacksonville to win. So maybe you end up calling me out next week. So we'll see what happens. I like Jacksonville. Like I said, I think there's some magic in that mustache with Gardner Minshew.
Could you imagine? And so, for self-serving reasons, I need the organization to move on from Quinn and Patricia in November. Like, October's good. We got the good coverage. Like, we need now further storylines to kind of push us along. Could you imagine a broom out? What kind of frenzy would be next week? I'm not ready yet. Not just yet. I'm ready to get the ducks in a row for November. But October, if they broom everybody out, oh my God. That's going to be some energy output that you and I got to put out, that we got to cover and figure out who's going to be next. How does Darrell Bevel handle everything? Who's going to make the decisions? Oh my God, all the ramifications that could happen from this week. If there's a loss, I don't know. I just still feel like Thanksgiving is the next real true marker, that if you lose to a Houston team at home at Thanksgiving, that could be the time to just say, all right, let's just move on and see what we got. So it's so great. You almost say like, okay, confidently the Lions are going to beat the Jaguars. Then you go, it's coming out of my mouth. It just doesn't sound right because, the Lions could easily get down 17-0 and make this a comeback game, Or I could see it again. They get out to a 17-point lead and Minshew has some magic and comes back. There will be fans there. There will be the caveat of a little bit more fans than the Lions had been used to. So get ready, guys. Get ready. Doc and Jock will be loaded. Follow at Detroit Podcast. We'll be following along Sunday as, maybe Adam and I might be hungover covering this one, but we still have an opportunity to look at it. Adam and I are going to have a fun weekend potentially on Saturday. So we'll see how this goes. If some of the words are not as tight and crisp as you're used to, there might be a reason we'll share next week.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. We'll see what happens.
All right.
It should be a good time on Saturday, though. And yes, I'm looking forward to a very hungover Sunday watching this game.
Baby. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good time to tell stories about what happened this weekend. When Doc and Jock get together, oh boy, it's always a treat when true players meet. And we'll leave it at that. We'll tease it for next week and see how this goes down. All right, cuz, before we get out of here, look, you and I both know Steve Yzerman walks on water in these parts. In the network, whatever he's doing with the Wings has just been awesome. I love the short-term contracts he's kind of doled out. The one that maybe was a little bit concerning and eyebrow-raising to me in that he was willing to show a gritty player some love and attention was the Ottawa forward Bobby Ryan. I thought, okay, the history of substance abuse, a little bit older veteran, guy that has obviously talent, but to bring that into a young locker room, I thought, okay, he's willing to take some chances. But I love the signing of Grice, the goaltender, short-term deals. I love the move to get the Rangers player installed. Obviously was shocked that he's now here in Detroit. And so I just want to get your sense collectively. What did you make of the free agent moves? And which move do you think was the best? I like the move for the goaltender, but I was really impressed with the move to pinch Stahl and to make that move.
Yeah, so I've been blown away by what Steve Yzerman has done. Basically, once free agency opened up, I was like, really? This guy too? This guy too? And he's doing all these things on short-term deals. Basically, he grabbed 5 players, and they come in at a salary cap figure around $9 million. So how fantastic is that? Now, I do love the him going out and trading for Mark Stahl and grabbing the second-round pick from the Rangers as well. I thought that was a very headsy move. That was a team that was looking to clear up some salary cap, and this was a Detroit team that was looking to take a little bit of salary on to kind of get to the salary cap floor, as well as possibly having a trade commodity later on in the year, as well as you get that second-round pick. Now, I do like them going out grabbing Bobby Ryan. Bobby Ryan was always a guy that I enjoyed watching, and I was always got a little bit frustrated by him because he showed to have all the tools to be a really great hockey player. It just always seemed like something was a little bit off. I think Bobby Ryan, especially on a one-year deal, is fantastic, especially coming off of his substance abuse problems. This is a guy where if he has a really good season, you can turn around, you could trade him and get something back in return. Or if he's really, really good and this team's in playoff contention, you've got a piece that you can kind of work with, and then maybe you could even extend him. So it allows Steve Yzerman a little bit of flexibility later on in the season once this team kind of sets its own path and you kind of see where things are going. Now, my favorite move that he made was probably for Thomas Grice. Thomas Grice, for those who don't know, was a New York Islanders goalie. This is a guy who, during the playoffs, he went 2-2, had a much better goals against and a much better save percentage than he had in the regular season. This is a guy who's going to come in. He's going to compete for your number one spot. He probably will be your number one goalie. And I think it on a 2-year deal, it's a very short-term deal. Again, I think gives Steve Yzerman a ton of flexibility later on. And he's a really good goalie. Like, this is a guy who had a ton of suitors, yet chose to come to the Wings. So it says a lot about what Steve Yzerman has been able to do in a very, very short amount of time. I'm excited to see where he takes this restart. I feel like this whole podcast has been nothing but talking about restarts here. But I'm excited to see where he goes, because the moves that he's made in this free agency period have been outstanding. I love all of them. On top of that, you bring in a goaltender who's going to make your team better. I absolutely love the move, and it gives you some flexibility later on next season. Either you can use him as some trade commodity, or you can extend him again. It's one of those things where Steve Yzerman has basically a deck of cards in front of him, and he can pick and play whatever he wants to do. I think it's fantastic. And again, he brought 5 guys in. Let this sink in, guys. 5 guys at around $9 million. Like, those are just responsible contracts. It's not like giving Applicator a contract that's in excess of $4.375 million to do a whole lot of nothing. Like, these are responsible contracts for guys who are going to produce for you. I think it's fantastic.
Nice. I just love it. I love the fact that we can say, okay, we see a vision. We see kind of the short-term vision of improving the team, of getting shorter-term contracts, veterans that have some talent. The team is better, which is good to see. And I don't think they're going to finish with 69 points. I don't think they're going to finish in the basement. Is it still a rebuild? Yes. Is there still things to work on? Are there avenues of growth that you can still see with some of the young cats? Yeah, they're not going to get dwarfed by any of these guys that have been signed. So I'm really happy. I think Bernier, too, is underrated as a goaltender. He comes on. The problem is he's not consistent enough. He'll have some games where he looks like, okay, this is a number one, but then there's other games where you're like, oh, God, the defense hung him out to dry, and he's giving up goals left and right. So I'm looking forward to seeing the competition there at goaltender, because with all due respect, I know everybody loves offense and everybody loves forwards. I'm loving what I'm seeing defensively. He's picking up huge monsters, 6'3", 6'4", can move the puck, and you're starting to see. Pay attention. Look, everyone I love is going to love Zadina. They're going to love all the speed players and the players that have the skill. But if you pay attention to that defense and the little things of how a defenseman can move the puck out of the zone, control the power play, maneuver guys out of the way so that the defense looks better and can save the goaltender, I'm liking the way in which this Red Wing team is targeting defensemen. Big, strong dudes, but have skill with the puck and can control it and get the puck. Because what do we say? What do we complain about most? Man, the defenseman, Eriksson, makes so many mistakes in his own zone. Critical mistakes. He's always turning the damn puck over. He's always out there jacking things up. And why is he out there? If you can control the puck, make the key pass, transition nicely from your own zone to the opponent's zone, then we're looking at a team right now that's getting built in a manner that we just saw won the Stanley Cup. So kudos to Steve Yzerman. I just can't say enough. I'm you're literally glowingly reviewing what he's done. I just haven't seen a move that I've been even critical of outside of maybe, okay, Bobby Ryan, let's see what he brings to the table. But by and large, all I can do is the doc grades Steve Yzerman A+.
Yeah, I think Steve Yzerman has done a fantastic job as of late. So I'm excited to see what the Red Wings' future is, because I think the way it's headed right now, it looks fantastic.
Absolutely. Make sure you follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast as we roll through the Lions season. College football's kicking up, so stay tuned to Doc and Jock as we preview what the hell's going on. Is Jim Harbaugh in his last 14 months? Is he going to get a new contract? Does he deserve it? All the drama, all the hype. Nothing's going on at Michigan State. We don't even know if there's actual real players on the field. They say they got a football program at Michigan State, but all we know is that Mel Tucker's there, and they got a couple quarterbacks. They got guys there, but none of them yet noteworthy enough to get their name called through these airwaves. So we'll pay attention in the next 7 days, because I'm hearing the whispers that, it's not a guarantee that the Spartans could defeat Rutgers. And when I hear those whispers, my little heart is going, oh, my God, can we just get a win this year? Oh, my God. D'Antonio, you left us bare. You left us really bare. But season's approaching. We'll take it seriously. But, on the Spartan side of things are looking pretty awful right at the moment. So I can't wait to break it all down with you. I always enjoy the 30 to 45 minutes we broadcast. And you can hear all the episodes on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network by going to everywhere or anywhere that you enjoy listening to podcasts. Type in 3 words, Detroit Sports Podcast, and when you hit subscribe, all our daily content finds you. Monday through Sunday, we're dropping great audio content via the podcast platform, which we love. We've been going strong since 2013. Greatly appreciate it, cuz. Thanks, everyone, for downloading the latest edition of Doc and Jock.